Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for this webinar. My name's Lee, and I'm a Business Development Manager here at Argentum. Today I'm going to present to you the EIC Accelerator. It's Horizon Europe's flagship funding opportunity. So what will I be covering today? I'll be going over the stages of applying for the call, looking at upcoming deadlines, success rates, funding rates, and give you a few examples of winning projects. To summarize, I'll speak a little bit about our services here at Argentum, and I'll give you some food for thought. So, an introduction to the EIC Accelerator. The EIC Accelerator is a wonderful funding opportunity, and it's very, very attractive to all companies that are looking for grants. It has a grant element of 2.5 million euros, and the option to apply for equity scales up to 15 million. So, I mean, who wouldn't want to win this and apply for it? It's open to all EU member states and Horizon Europe associated countries. The call, it's actually a bottom-up call, which means that it's open to all different fields and all types of R&D projects, and you can apply as a single entity, so there's no need for partners here. And I'll go into this in a little bit more detail throughout the presentation. So a little bit about the scope for the EIC Accelerator. It supports companies, principally startups, but primarily SMEs, basically supports them to scale up high impact innovations. So we're looking at the potential to create new markets or disrupt existing ones. It focuses particularly on innovations building on scientific discovery or technological breakthroughs, also looking at where significant funding is needed over a long time frame before returns can be generated. Such innovations often struggle to attract financing because the risks and the time period involved are too high. So the funding and support from the EIC Accelerator are designed in order to enable such innovators to attract the full investment needed for scale up in a shorter time frame. The EIC Accelerator supports the later stages of technology development as well as scale up. The technology component of an applicant's innovation must therefore have already been tested and validated in a lab or other relevant environments. So this has to be done prior to the EIC Accelerator application. So I'm now going to focus on the application process. I'm going to go into the minor details, into the finer details of each part. So the application process is actually quite a long one. It's split up into 3 stages, as you can see on the slide. We've got a stage 1, which is a shorter application. Stage 2 is the full proposal, and stage 3 is an interview. And I'll now go into more detail about each of those. So stage 1 is actually compiled of 3 parts. It's a written short proposal. So it's looking at a 5-page form, which you must summarize your proposal and respond to a set of questions on your innovation, looking at your potential market and your team. It's also a pitch deck of up to 10 slides. And then also what they request is a short video lasting around 3 minutes, where you need to explain your project and present yourselves and the company. And here at Argentum, we help you prepare for this by guiding you with what to say and how to film in order to maximize your potential. And actually, our consultants recommend spending around 6 to 8 weeks preparing this application for the best results, for a winning result. It can be done in 4 to 6 weeks as well. And actually, once this has been submitted, you can get your results within 4 to 6 weeks from submission. So you'll hear whether you get onto stage 2 after around 4 to 6 weeks. So moving on to stage 2, this is the longer application, which consists of around 400 questions. These questions delve deeper into the nuances and smaller details of the project that you want to get funding for. So this stage will take up most of the time from all of the stages. And here at Argentum, we recommend to start preparing this stage around 12 weeks before the deadline. So we really do want to maximize that time. So here, our team have been working on the EIC for many, many years, and they really know how to take all the information about the project and turn it into a winning application, interpreting your technology and using the right buzzwords that the evaluators want to hear. For this stage, results are expected within 5 to 6 weeks after submission. So as you can see, like I said, this is the longer and more time-consuming part of the application. If we say we need around 10 to 12 weeks, then there's a huge difference between writing a good application and writing a great application and then a winning application. So it's important to bear that in mind when planning your own timeline for the application process. And then moving on to stage 3, this is the interview stage. So here you'll be invited to an interview where you'll need to present your project in front of a jury of 6 evaluators. This used to be in person and you would get invited to travel to Brussels to present, but today it's all done online. Argentum's team also help you prepare for what can be a nerve-wracking stage. We help you by going over simulations and making sure that you express yourselves to the best of your ability and making sure that you include all the important factors that the evaluators would like to hear. So applications that meet all the criteria at the remote evaluation stage are assessed, and if they're assessed positively by the EIC jury but not recommended for funding, you'll be awarded a seal of excellence, and this is to help you secure funding from other sources. Okay, so the Seal of Excellence is a quality label. It's awarded to a project or a proposal submitted by startups and SMEs under Horizon Europe. And this is to help these proposals find alternative funding as they did not receive funding either due to budget limits or it doesn't necessarily mean that the project isn't suitable for funding. It's just generally because of the budget that they've set aside for that specific deadline. But the Seal of Excellence is something that's very, very positive for a company to receive. It certifies the high quality of your proposal, and it can actually help you build a reputation as well within the funding world. So a few tips, when applying. The EIC Accelerator is one of the most sought after grants, and it has 4 deadlines per year. So stage 1 is open, which means you can apply all year round. Stage 2, the deadlines are usually in January, March, June, and October. And should you get a go from the second stage, then you'll move on to the interview stage. Now, as I mentioned, our tips here from our experience, we've seen the amount of time it takes for each stage, or for stage 1 and stage 2, to actually do the application and then to receive a go or a no-go. So it's really important. I would say our first tip, and I'll move on to some more throughout the presentation, is to take in mind that it is a lengthy proposal, and to make sure that you're not rushing the application process. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the funding opportunity. So the EIC Accelerator focuses on 3 important factors: on excellence, on impact, and implementation of the project. The excellence criteria covers the relevancy of the developed solution. It looks at the degree of technological innovation and the readiness in terms of positioning of the project from idea to market. And this is what they look at, the technology readiness level. So they would also take into account the TRL factor here. The impact. So the impact criteria examines the impact of the project on the economies and society if the project is commercially successful. So this criteria also includes an evaluation of the likelihood that the company will be commercially successful with the developed solution. And it includes elements from a business plan. So they'll take that into consideration as well. And lastly, the implementation factor. This criteria is actually known as level of risk, implementation, and need for union support. This factor covers the suggested work plan for the implementation of the project. So it's including all the work packages, deliverables, milestones, and budgets. This criteria also makes sure that the team is able to implement the project properly. So moving on, as I previously mentioned, it's generally a bottom-up call. So as I said, it means that you can apply with any project in any field of technology for later innovation stages. But actually this year, we saw the EIC Accelerator introduce challenge-driven calls, and this actually covered all topics from Horizon Europe clusters. So as you can see on the slide, there were 8 that were that introduced, and actually this is for the imminent deadline of October. So if we look at this, there's one in the health, there's a couple in the health cluster looking at biomarker assays for cancer, decontamination for pandemic management. We also have energy storage. Then there's the new European Bauhaus, which is very interesting call. We have one here on quantum computers. This is actually coming more and more into the limelight. We can see a lot more calls in Horizon Europe in general coming out. And then there's also semiconductors, resilient agriculture for cluster 6, and space technologies and service, which is also a very strong point and a very strong cluster today. So moving on to the budget scope. I'm going to spread this out over 2 slides. So on this slide, I'm going to go over 4 types of funding that you can actually receive from applying to the EIC Accelerator. So in front of you, what you can see, grant funding, direct investment, EIC challenges, which I just mentioned, and EIC open. So under the grant funding, you have a grant only. This is for projects aiming to reach TRL 8 and at the end of the project, I should say. And also the grant first, which you can see there. This is for companies reaching TRL 8 and then applying for equity to reach a TRL 9. The direct investment option over here, this option is for market deployment. This can be achieved through blended finance, which is a mix of grant and equity investment, or investment only. But the investment only is just for mid-cap companies that have already received the grant only option previously. And then here at the bottom of the slide, we've got the challenges and the open call. So as I mentioned on the previous slide, I explained a little bit about what they were, and on the next slide, I'll actually go into more detail about the actual figures. Okay, so looking at the actual figures that are available, I know this is, what interests most of us when applying to a call. So the total planned budget is 613 million euros for the open call, and 524.75 million euros for the challenges. The budget per project is up to 2.5 million euros for the grant component, and up to 15 million euros for the optional equity investment component. And here applicants can opt for the grant only or equity only, or the blended option, which we just saw on the previous slide, which is the grant and equity. And this decision is made at the time of application. So the grant component of up to 2.5 million, it's a contribution of non-dilutive funding with 70% funding rate and 25% overheads, and it's for a 24-month project. This activity, it states that they would like the activity to start at TRL 5 and 6, moving on to TRL 8 by the end. And then the equity investment component is from 500,000 up to 15 million for activities above TRL 8. So the blended finance option, as I just mentioned before, is a mix. And here, such applicants will receive extra acceleration services in order to connect with investors, corporates, and like-minded entrepreneurs. So those that are looking to really take it on a larger scale project, this is a very, very good option for you. Okay, so a few statistics here. Looking at 2023 so far, the overall success rate has been 6 to 7%, which is actually an increase from last year. There are varying success rates from each stage too. So from stage 1 to stage 2, the success rate is around between 50 and 80%. And from stage 2 to stage 3, it's roughly around 25%. So it is a very competitive grant. This table that you can see on the screen, basically it shows the breakdown of successful companies from March 23 deadline. We can see here that 51 companies were funded. This is actually an increase of 59% compared to the last call, with a total budget of 216 million euros. And this budget has gone up by 33% as well, which is also it's always positive to hear. The selected companies in March spread across 17 countries, and the chart below, you can see here how they were divided. And I'm going to go into some success stories over the next few slides to show you a little bit more about this division. So the call itself, as I mentioned, has a 70% funding rate for each country for the grant component. And the range that it has from equity investment from €500,000 up to 15 million euros shows us that it is very, very competitive, but it's also, something that's worth the time and effort for you to invest in. All companies can use the equity component to cover the remaining 30% of that 70% funding rate, apart from the UK, as they can't apply for blended finance at this point in time. So moving on, over the next 3 slides, I'm going to present a few success stories. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about them all, as we'll probably be here all day, but I would like to point out a few important factors. So specifically on this slide, I want to take your attention. I want you to notice 2 of the winning companies or calls. They actually came from Bulgaria and Poland. Why am I mentioning this? Well, because I think it's important to state that even the widening countries in Europe have a great chance of success here too with the EIC Accelerator. And that's the beauty of it being an open call. And if you look here, we can see that, let's say this winning application went for the grant first option, and the one here from Bulgaria actually went for the fully blended option. So it just shows us that no matter which country you're applying from or what aspect out of the 4 for the EIC Accelerator you're applying for, whether it's grant first or fully blended or equity, the chances of success are even. So I just wanted to point that out. So here's some more success stories. I want to take your attention here to this one here, this and this one here at the bottom. So we've got France and Belgium here. So here we can see 2 completely different space projects that have won. I'm showing you this because this just supports what I mentioned before about being an open call. So really, it is open to all types of activity. And just because one space project won, it doesn't mean that if you have a project in the same field or a similar field that you can't win too. So I wanted to show you here that although the EU contribution is different, it's important to state again and to stress that this space application went for the fully blended option. So we can see here the EU contribution is a lot higher than this one, but here they did go for the grant only, and even then it was a very very high sum, 1.2 million euros for the grant only aspect, both being in space. And then moving on, to my final slide for the success stories. Here, this slide is interesting as we see that the winners are from Sweden, Portugal. Portugal is a country that's becoming stronger and stronger in the innovation world, and the UK, who are now officially back in Horizon Europe. So I wanted to point this out because it covers different countries, but also the different fields. So especially this UK call here, this is actually cluster 6. So biotechnology. So we can see also that not only a lot of people tend to think that health is the strongest cluster when applying for this specific call, but actually you can see that space, we've got engineering and technology here, and also cluster 6 biotechnology, all have the exact same chance of winning. All right, so now I'm going to give you a quick overview about Argentum and our services. So here at Argentum, we work with our multi-submission strategy. So not only do we apply for the EIC Accelerator, we also apply for national funding, intergovernmental funding, and European funding for all EU and associated countries. We've actually been in the grant business since 1999, and we've developed our multi-submission over the years in order to increase success rates and save you time and resources, in order for you to really focus on the project and the development at hand. We actually work with over 100 funding opportunities to date, and this is in the hope to maximize your success. Our strategic team will analyze various calls to proposal. They'll pull out the ones that they think will match your R&D. And obviously, they also analyze the eligibility, the deadlines, and roadmaps. So through our years of experience, we know that the timeline from application of a grant to receiving the funds can be anywhere from 6 to 12 months. During that waiting time, we would be able to apply to various other opportunities, thus expanding your chances of success. And among the many advantages of our multi-submission strategy, we also create a financial funding flow. We participate, or we allow participation for you in collaborative projects, so consortia calls. We secure maximum funding available for the company. We apply to various opportunities, funding various levels of development. We minimize your investment of time, and we also seize immediate opportunities. Now, we developed the multi-submission approach several years ago, precisely because we found it best supported our clients in securing long-term funding. Through our personal approach and in-depth knowledge, Argentum consultants know how to break down the grant to maximize your funding potential. It's not just copy-paste. And as a result, our success rates are double than the rest. And this last quarter has seen us receive notice that our clients were awarded grants from all various other funding programs as well. So a few take-home messages regarding today's webinar. Applying for the EIC Accelerator is challenging. It's a competitive process. However, it is the best option out there. And if you answer all the criteria, then it is a must. But it isn't the only option for funding out there. The call states TRL 5+. Okay, now, although it states this, we have seen projects with TRL4 successfully receive funding. So it's really important to remember that the TRL is just an indication and it's not set in stone. The EIC Accelerator currently provides the highest European funding for single applicants. The step-by-step application and the evaluation procedures provides more certainty and efficiency for both sides, meaning for the applicant and for the European Commission. So whilst this program is highly competitive, the EIC Accelerator nonetheless presents the best funding opportunity for a single applicant seeking to advance a project towards market readiness. So we've come to the end of the webinar today. I hope that all the information I shared was useful and enlightening, and that it helped you gain inspiration for your next funding applications. Thank you all very much for attending. On the screen now, you can see my email address. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to schedule a call and learn more about your company's activity, and also go into more detail about how we include the EIC Accelerator into our multi-submission strategy. Later on, our marketing team will send a follow-up email to you all. You're welcome to book a call with me via the link that will be in that email. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you all for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day.